Can't be unhappy with that as an introduction, Mr. Barnes. Good morning.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Very well, and yourself? I chatted to you a second before, and you told me that there's lots of construction going on, as is the case normally in Hong Kong, so please excuse the noise.
Yeah, Hong Kong cacophony. That's what you get. You get your marketing insights, and you get the banging of Hong Kong to boot.
At least people know
all
it's
part
real.
of the service.
Absolutely. So, Goldfinger was the introduction, but given that you're going to talk about Seth Godin a little today, let's go from gold to purple.
Well, yeah, what you're really talking about is one of my intellectual heroes, Seth Godin, right?
Yep.
Arguably the world's most important marketeer, certainly of the last, I would say, 20 years.
Wow.
Seth Godin started his life as firstly, he's a very well-qualified guy. He's got an MBA from Stanford University, but his early career, as I've come to understand it, was in book packaging pre-internet. So he would take an idea for a book that had a prospective audience of a certain size, and they could produce this particular book, have a way to take it to market, and then sell a few thousand copies and make some money out of it, and then sort of rinse, repeat, and carry on doing that. And all of this was sort of happening just about the time where the internet was really starting to sort of show itself for what it ultimately went on to be. And by his own admission, what he says was that he missed the biggest opportunity of his life, because about the same time that he was doing his very last book packaging deal, that I think he said had a market of about 8,000 copies. A couple of guys in a garage in Silicon Valley were producing the basis of Yahoo. So he decided what he was going to do was to do a book on sort of the internet, or the websites of the internet, rather than thinking about producing an indexing engine. And so he's got a story that he says that at the time when Yahoo was getting born, they were doing the right things, he was doing the wrong things, so he missed the boat completely, and that cost him something like $20 billion. So that's how sort of he got his start. But so to make a long story short, he then sort of progressed on from that and started an internet company called Yoyodyne that eventually went on to get sold to Yahoo. And at that point, he became a sort of a full-time muse. He doesn't do any consulting. He just writes and speaks and shares his insights and wisdom. And he has a blog that's the world's recognized as the world's sort of most important business blog. He does what he calls as a riff every single day, sort of stream of consciousness, whatever he's thinking about as it relates to everything associated with the connection economy. And as you know, I'm a big connection economy man. He, in fact, actually coined the phrase the connection economy. So he riffs on his blog daily on the connection economy when he's not writing books and doing other interesting projects like Alt MBA and other initiatives that sort of take his fancy from time to time. But yeah, so I've been talking a long time, and I'll get back to the purple reference that you made. But in reality, what Seth Godin has done is he's understood the true dynamics of the connection economy, and he's then synthesized the big ideas in the connection economy down to a series of books that he's written as the ideas have sort of coalesced in his mind, and he's been able to sort of document them and get them out. And one of the early ones that he wrote, which was pivotal in my own thinking as to the intelligent content marketing model that I've got going in my own business today, is the book that he wrote called The Purple Cow in 2003.
Okay. Now, what made this book so pivotal for you? What was in there that changed your way of thinking?
Well, the circumstances of my commercial life at that time precluded me from being able to action the ideas that are embodied in that tome. But the essential message is that in an over-communicated world like we have today, the only way that you can command anybody's attention is to stand out, and that is to be remarkable. And he makes the point, which heralds the title of the book, in fact, that one day he was driving through France with his wife, and this children after a long flight. They were heading off to where they needed to go from the airport, and the kids were making a huge ruckus in the back, and all of a sudden they went quiet. And they went quiet for a microsecond because for the first time in their lives they'd seen cows in a field. And so they looked at the cows, and then they, were stunned silent. Then they had a few observations and remarks about them. Then they talked about the cows for the next 3 or 4 minutes. And then after that, the one cow was just like another, and they lost interest in it, and that was the end of it. They never talked about cows again after that. So Seth Godin had this awareness. What happened if you sort of were driving along a field, driving along through a road, and in the fields one day you see standing there a purple cow? Well, what you do is you stop the car, you jump out, you go over, you take photographs of it, you think about it, you tell all your friends about it. No one ever sees a purple cow, right?
Yep.
And as a result of that, the whole idea of having a business model and a presence, particularly on the internet, that is by definition remarkable, be outstanding, be standing out, is the way that you command people's attention. So that involves a whole variety of sort of thinking about your business proposition and how you want it to be manifested. Because if you're just ordinary, then no one's going to notice you.
One of the takeaways from my reading of the book was that it's as much about products as well, and the product you manufacture or whatever it is, as you say, has to be remarkable.
Well, it's got to be remarkable by design. Okay. So you think through essentially how you're going to have whatever you have built into the fabric of what it is, the ability to sell it, because people are going to be intrinsically interested in it because it's remarkable. And remember that the definition of remarkable is to make a remark about it. So whatever your proposition is, it has to be of such special quality of sorts that people are going to talk about it.
And do you think that's a product that's new and unique to the market, or do you think that's every product, even if there's 1,000 of the same?
Well, okay. So let's sort of prescribe exactly who the purple cow is for. Who's the audience for the purple cow? What I've come to understand in my experience is that the audience for the purple cow is somebody who's about to start a business and wants to do something very different. So they don't have to re-engineer what they've already got to turn it into a purple cow, but their proposition, whatever it is that they're ultimately selling, whatever value it is that they're delivering, has to be anticipated as such, in such a way that it's going to be different. It's going to be remarkable. And an example, of that is in my business. So we give all our intellectual property away for free. We're an immigration law firm, and in a profession where lawyers charge by their time, and they're very sort of aggressive about clocking up the time that they spend in search of billable hours. For us to come along and say, well, no, we don't believe in that. What we're going to do is we're going to give all our IP to you away for free. We're going to share it with it while we're going to give you all our tips and tricks and 25 years of experience. It's all going to be documented. It's there for you to make of it as you will. Action it, do your work without paying for professional help, whatever it takes. But our IP is free, and we're the only firm in Hong Kong. In fact, as far as I'm aware, the only immigration firm in the world that does that. So that's remarkable.
Is there any way to compete with free?
Well, that's another dimension again to having a remarkable business model. So, you can't compete with free. If your competitors are doing what they do and they're doing it the same way as they've always done it, and that involves them basically delivering a service in it or a supply of something in exchange for a fee. If you've got the ability to disaggregate and reaggregate value so that you can actually give everything away for free like we've done, then you're settling on delivering a different kind of value. And the value that we deliver against us giving away our IP for free is, as we may have discussed previously, it's the peace of mind. People are paying for peace of mind from an immigration provider.
Now, another one of Godin's books was Unleashing the Idea Virus, and I know that was also pivotal in you creating one for yours. We've discussed this at length over the years, and it's something that I've never really quite got my head around. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay, so an idea virus is let me give you an example. The Ice Bucket Challenge.
Oh, yes.
That's an idea virus.
Okay.
Okay. So what was my idea virus? My idea virus embodied in this notion that I was going to give all my intellectual property away for free and help people answer questions and solve problems and give them what they need to make informed decisions about, what the best solution to their problem is. I wanted to sort of tie the physical result of delivering that experience to people into a collection of words that embodied what the value is that we deliver the space that we're in, and B, that it's actually related to me personally. And so I came up with the idea virus, the Hong Kong visa geezer.
Okay. Now, does that rely on somebody understanding the term geezer? Because it's a colloquialism, obviously, from England.
Indeed, yes, absolutely. So there's a certain segment of the market that we provide services to who possibly won't get the meaning of the word geezer, but they certainly understand Hong Kong and they certainly understand visa. So given that they're 75% of the way there, at least if they come across the words Hong Kong visa geezer, they're going to be curious as to understand what the geezer piece is, and then they'll have a look at the website, and then they'll see actually this is just a place to go where you get all your immigration problems solved and all your questions answered, and then they may not understand the connotation in terms of the vernacular geezer applying to sort of a particular type of man from the south of England. But what they will do is they'll remember the words Hong Kong visa geezer to associate that particular experience that they've had on that website. So in the future, when they're trying to find us again, or whether they're telling other people about this experience that they've had on the website related to Hong Kong immigration, they don't have to remember Hong Kong Visa Centre, and they don't have to remember my name, Stephen Barnes. All they have to do is recall Hong Kong visa geezer, or just visa geezer for those people that are au fait with the meaning of visa geezer in the colloquial.
And do you think the term visa geezer also made it more approachable, in that if you had gone Hong Kong visa lawyers, it would have been once again not approachable by the man in the street? Do you think you toned down and made it approachable?
Well, I think you've answered a question that I never asked myself. That is a question that perhaps I should have asked myself way back when, but I never got to the point where I wanted to call itself the Hong Kong visa lawyers. I think it makes perfect sense, right? Because those people who understand what visa geezer is a colloquialism. That then means that this guy must be approachable and of a particular type of personality that means I don't have to be intimidated by reaching out to him and making the connection.
And do you think my own station named Digital Bacon FM, do you think that's an idea virus, given that everybody loves bacon and Digital Bacon FM says it all, or am I just reaching?
Well, I wouldn't.
Be nice.
I wouldn't position myself as being an expert on, people's psychology when it comes to making sort of associations with words and food and what you are and all the rest of that good stuff. Digital Bacon FM is catchy. Is it an idea virus in the sort of commonly understood form? Let me give you another example as to whether or not it might be considered an idea virus. The second project I'm involved in, as you know, is intelligent content marketing.
Yeah.
So I coined that phrase, intelligent content marketing, because firstly, everybody understands the word intelligent and content and marketing. Secondly, there is a marketing concept out there which I think is complete bullshit. It's called content marketing.
Okay.
So there is an association in people's minds automatically with potentially what intelligent content marketing is. They've got their own definitions and perceptions of what content marketing is, but I've come along and put the word intelligent in front of it, which then gives you an opportunity to qualify actually what this thing called content marketing might be. So I've deliberately built a collection of material and content around this notion of intelligent content marketing, and I'm intending to parlay that as an idea virus. It's something that people will remember. So if perhaps a year from now we have a conversation with a bunch of content marketeers who've had exposure to the whole intelligent content marketing proposition that we're putting out there, I have a very strong sense that they will be referring to the idea that's associated with intelligent content marketing. They'll be referring to it as intelligent content marketing because it has the qualities of an idea virus, right? It's understandable, you can pass it on, and intrinsically there's some value associated with engaging intellectually and trying to fathom out what that thing is all about. So tying that back to digital bacon FM, if you can apply that test to it, then you have an idea virus. If you can apply that test to it successfully, then you've got a catchy radio name, and that's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But Is it an idea virus? Probably not.
Okay. Now, I received a question for you on WhatsApp. Do you agree with Godin that one should start small rather than big? Given that he also has the book, Small is the New Big.
Yeah, it's the only way to start. It's the only way to start because you've got to fathom out what your proposition is, right? So you come up with an idea that says that our business model is going to look like this, and so then you put $10 million behind it, take it to market. What happens if you got it all wrong? No, there's no need for that. You have to start small. You're starting off with ideas, and you want to test them, and you want to, as we did over time, understand what works, and then think, right, how can I improve this business model? How can I add another element to it that's going to differentiate us from everybody else in the marketplace, and also collectively go on to be, a part of the purple cow that you're going to build. So yeah, you have to start small. And I started the Hong Kong Visa Centre small in 2010, coming out of almost bankruptcy. As you know, I didn't have any resources to go big. I had to start small, but what I had was the ability to access the profound know-how of Seth Godin and my other intellectual heroes, appreciate the lessons that they have to impart, and then slowly, incrementally add the lessons that they were suggesting would create value for me and my business. Adding that into the business mix and testing it little by little meant that from small acorns, tall trees grow.
Sure. Now, I remember we did a series where you were interviewing people who were starting out their businesses in Hong Kong, and you did a TV show on those and put them on your website. And the one that
Visa Geezer interviews.
There you go, the idea virus that never stuck with me. Yes, those interviews. There was one in particular that I really enjoyed. Was the gentleman who invented that pen, the 3D pen.
3Doodler, yeah.
And what I took away from yours and his conversation was that he'd created a community around this pen. They were basically his beta testers, and they then started sharing their own interactions with this pen, and then started testing the limits of what this pen could actually do. And they became, as you always say, his tribe. And I've found that really fantastic. It was a good way for him to go ahead with it,
Well, yeah, and they see what Daniel Cowan, the founder of 3Doodler, did at that point is that he understood that there was a community of interest out there on the planet that would intrinsically be thrilled and enthralled by this particular product that he had, and that the creative types that they would naturally want to be sharing, and they'd want to connect and interact with other people of like minds. And so that's the beauty of the connection economy, because you're no longer producing, as Seth Godin says, average stuff for the mass market. What you're doing is you're producing particular stuff for the people that've got an interest in that stuff, and it's not the mass market. It's specialist. It's a good market, but they're scattered. And so if you can come up with, as Daniel did, with a product, and then that was going to appeal to a particular market, and then position that product right in the center and the heart of that market, then that tribe is going to organize itself around you. It will definitely find you, and it will participate in it. And again, that's all part and parcel of the premise of starting small. Your tribe is built up organically, and you win your relationships one at a time. And so that's what it's really all about. It's all about understanding your tribe.
Would you say that pen was his purple cow?
I would say that, yeah, when he first started, it was his purple cow, absolutely. There, of course, because it's in manufacturing, eventually they went on to get copied, and it's a little bit more sort of commoditized and ubiquitous now. Great product and doing very well, and all the rest of it. Is it a purple cow any longer? Probably not. True purple cows tend to stick around for the long haul.
Now, another one of Godin's books was called "All Marketers Are Liars." Consumers believe what they want to believe. Do you stand by that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. The one of the things that I've come to understand being a publisher is that actually, because you control the messaging, and if you are communicating into an audience that don't have anything, by which to compare what you're saying, then essentially the bias of no comparison works in your favor, and you ultimately create your own reality. Now, I think marketeers have kind of understood that down the years, and I believe that's what Seth Godin was really talking about. So yeah, all marketeers are liars because they've got their own agendas, and they're going to promote their own agendas. They're going to create their own realities as a result of the propositions that they're parlaying.
And was there a big move from people understanding that it's just messaging to actual authenticity?
Yeah, because now advertising just doesn't work in the way that it used to work. Now what's happening is that people who are on the receiving end of communications, they're anticipating that this communication that's going on isn't designed to be addressed to a massive audience of which you're just one caught in the crossfire. It's designed specifically for you. It speaks to you. So the language and the sort of the ethos behind the communications tend now to be based on authenticity and based on sort of trust, because it's about the genesis of a relationship. And you can have a relationship that's based on a falsehood, and the vast majority of advertising, to one degree or another, was based on some kind of falsehood. Now what you've got is the need to be intrinsically authentic and transparent. So from that perspective, the worm has turned, I believe. You can no longer get away with those shenanigans.
And if I was going to start a business, or if I had a business that was relatively young, how would you suggest that I take the wise words of Seth Godin and then employ them in that starting phase, or in a business that's already running?
Well, firstly, you read all his books, and then you understand the ideas. Okay, and then you do an assessment of what it is that you're actually selling. What is it that you're selling? Once you understand what you're selling, you can disaggregate and reaggregate value. Once you've done that, you can take all the precepts of Seth Godin's ideas and then start to implement them, in terms of how you communicate permission marketing, for example. The purple cow, recognize that you're going to build a tribe, design your idea virus, get all the elements in place so that you can become a linchpin. These are all the key sort of ideas that Seth has parlayed. That you don't see too many businesses actually adopting these things. They tend to think that they are aspirational and intellectually of very high value, but because of corporate inertia and other things, no one ever sort of takes the initiative and seeks to sort of act on them. So if you're starting out from scratch, if you've gone through that exercise of building something that by definition and implication is remarkable in the way that I've just suggested, and then take on board Seth Godin's ideas and the ideas of my other intellectual heroes, which I'm sure we'll talk about on future shows, and inject them into your end proposition, starting small and incrementally building it out, and then testing what works and what doesn't work, infusing what you're doing in this idea that you're going to help people answer questions, you're going to help them solve problems, you're going to assist them actually attain the jobs to be done that need to get done, and then do it against the backdrop of telling your own story, showing your vulnerabilities, ensuring that you're authentic and honest, and telling also, as we do with intelligent content marketing, telling the story of the business as you're doing it, right? We're having this conversation now, and we're going, the results of this conversation will get recorded, and it will appear on one of my websites in the future. People who are interested in this kind of stuff will be able to access that, and it's part and parcel of our story. So storytelling is absolutely integral to building success in the connection economy. And it's got to be the story of the people behind it, but also the story of the business itself. and the application of intelligent content marketing into the Hong Kong Visa Centre, and indeed how we're taking intelligent content marketing to market using sort of eating our own dog food, as it were. It's all based on telling the story of how we're doing it.
Okay, now you said a minute ago that his books are considered aspirational by many, and none of the principles, or very few businesses, actually implement the principles he's talking about. Why is that?
Well, I think it's lazy marketing. I think what happens is that, you go into, if you're an experienced entrepreneur, after a while, you come to understand that, if nothing changes, nothing changes. But if you're a successful industrial economy business and you've done something the same way, forever, and you're still making money, and you're not aware of, how the world is changing around you, it's kind of like the slowly boiling frog in a pan of hot water, being heated water. If you're in that situation as an established business operating in the industrial economy, you just don't have the point of reference or the internal sort of kick needed to reinvent yourself. And then when it comes to other businesses, smaller business owners or businesses that are starting out, all I can do is sort of take myself back to my intellectual state in 92, 93 when I started business for the first time, straight out of law school. I got my law degree from the London School of Economics, and I passed the solicitor's final examination, and this was a kid that didn't even graduate from high school originally. So I was full of myself, figuring, well, if I can do all that kind of stuff, surely I can be successful in business. It can't be that hard, can it? But my Lord, what a journey I went on. It took me 20 years of failed business ventures, constant pain and suffering, almost bankruptcy, to wake up to the fact that you've got to do things differently if you want to be successful. So I don't think I think people don't take on board these ideas because A, they don't have the confidence to sort of think that they might work. B, they don't really have any sort of case studies around them that shows exactly how it might work for them and what they can do with it. And C, they're getting all their advice from marketing and business gurus that's probably 15 or 20 years out of date altogether. So what are they supposed to believe?
So now you're a chap that looks forward as well as takes an introspective and also a backwards view of how things have happened. If you could sum up what it was that you think you did wrong in your failed businesses, what would that be? Was there a consistent theme that you constantly employed that didn't work?
Absolutely, and this is another Seth Godin concept that came to me later in the day. Finally, after it all, I picked myself. Because prior to that, every decision that I was making, every deal that I got involved in, every business transaction that, formed part and parcel of my career, always involved other people that invariably held, to one degree or another, the key to my success, my own personal success. And because these people, over time, constantly disappointed me, not because there's anything wrong with them, but just because they're always going to pursue their own agendas, came to me, as I say, facing bankruptcy, squarely in the face, 49 years of age. I've got to get rid of all of this nonsense. I've got to pick myself. So that's been the catalytic change for me, picking myself, doing it my way, relying on my experience, knowing that whatever decisions I make in my business today, I'm the one that suffers the consequences of it. Only me, nobody else, right? So from that perspective, I have control. I've got my hands on the wheels. And looking back, since I've made that decision, all my peers that have been successful in the 10 or 15 years prior to me meeting my success, actually, the reason they were successful is because they always controlled their own destinies. They weren't a Democrat like me. They relied on others too much. So I think that's the pivotal point. Rely on yourself. That doesn't mean that you don't take on board other people's advice and opinions, and you search it out and you get all the best inputs around you. Of course, that's just being prudent and part of the other key to my success, which is lifelong learning. You've got to be constantly trying to improve, but in the final analysis, pick yourself and don't enter into transactions or deals where you have to rely on others to find the keys to your success, because they will almost certainly disappoint you.
Now, I know the structure of your business, and I've met Martin on many occasions. When you say pick yourself, obviously you can't grow a business to a certain size, and sometimes you don't have all of the skills that are required to deliver a certain kind of business. Would you say that you and Martin are like-minded in your approach, or you both have different strengths that you bring to this business going in the same direction?
Yeah, the latter, and the reality is that Martin has quite a few years less experience than I am, because he's 13 years younger than me, and he joined my business, one of my early businesses, as an employee originally, and I met him when I was a teenager, right? But that's not to take anything away from the profound experience that he's had with me over the last few years as we've gone through, we went to hell and back. So kind of, what the way that Martin and I interact is very much kind of like, we now know each other so well that we understand the boundaries of our own competencies, and we just operate within the boundaries of our own competencies, and we certainly have discussions about decisions we're making that fall within the boundaries of our own discrete individual competencies, but we never second guess each other ultimately if a call is made in relation to our own competencies, knowing that we would be fools to try and second guess each other as to what the right outcome is for any decisions that we're making that properly belongs in the hands of either Martin or myself. So that, and the fact that because we've come through so much together and we're so like-minded and we view the world through the same prism, we finish each other's sentences. It's sort of embarrassing how we just see eye to eye on everything.
Okay. And next week, where are we going to go next with your marketing matters?
Well, I thought what we might do is sort of week by week, we'll go through elements that amount to an intelligent content marketing strategy, the big ideas, and then the sort of go through my four intellectual heroes plus Professor Clay Christensen and what he's had to say about creative disruption. So next week, perhaps we'll cover Kevin Kelly.
That'll be fantastic. Good. Thanks very much, Stephen. You have an awesome weekend, and we'll catch up next Friday.